Hey, LTC Kirkham, the Kirkham Report here. Stepping in with a midweek vinyl community thread. I don't know if Doug Anderson started this or not. I know that's where I first saw it, and I thought I got to do this because it's right up my alley, so I'm going to try it now. Actors who have released albums or music in their career. Now, like Doug, I didn't go for the really obvious ones. Some of the ones that I know you guys would know that are out there, like Sean Cassidy, Bobby Sherman, Leif Garrett. I'm not going to go through all of those. I am going to show a couple that Doug showed also, because I have them as well. But there are a few actors, actresses, and a duo that I went through and grabbed because I thought they'd be fun to look at. I collect actors that do albums, and so there's been a lot of stuff out there. I've lost a few over the years, but these are the ones I have right now, and the ones I pulled anyway. Starting off with the ubiquitous album from this gentleman, Scott Baio. Man, if you don't like, if you like good vocals, don't buy this album. His second album is actually better. He took some singing lessons between albums. The single off his What Was in This Kiss was actually a pretty big hit at a radio station in Hawaii. I found that out when I was doing Radio Retro last year. Yeah, for the most part, it's not the best album in the world. And I rarely listen to it, but it's part of my collection, and I like having it in my collection, even though I don't particularly care for the music. Another one, Ralph Carter, Young and in Love. Ralph played Michael on Good Times in the 1970s. This was a pretty big hit on the R&B and dance charts. Had a big hit called Extra Extra, which was a hit on the dance chart. He of course had already done Broadway as a singer before that. Jeff Conaway, best known for Taxi and for playing Kaniki in Grease. This came out in 1979. Wasn't a big hit. Not the best of albums, but not terrible either. Conaway was a more than competent singer, and City Boy was a pretty big hit on the Kirkham Report charts at the time. Al Corley, another artist who hit #1 on the Kirkham Report back in the 80s with Square Rooms. He was bigger in Europe than he was in 80. Of course, he in the United States. He was best known for playing Stephen Carrington on Dynasty. This is the first of his 2 albums I have. This includes Square Rooms and a couple of other great songs. I actually like it. If you're into Europop or Eurodance, he does really good stuff. Not an actor per se, but someone who you don't normally think of as a singer, even though he started as a singer. This one, probably known best as a talk show host, Morton Downey Jr. Morton Downey Jr. Sings. This album came out during the heyday of the Big Mouth's talk show that was on every evening at 10 o'clock in Columbus. I don't know whether you did or saw it or not, but of course he did have start as a singer, following in his footsteps of his father, Morton Downey. It's not a bad little album. I picked it up a couple years ago. I knew it was out there. How many of you guys remember Rick Ely? Rick Ely was on a number of series in the late 60s and early 70s, probably best known for the Young Rebels. He was a singer as well as an actor, and this is a gatefold. I picked this up in auction years ago. I remember liking this quite well when it was out. It's not a bad little album. He's not a bad little singer, but he still was better known as an actor from his mid-60s, early 70s stuff. This guy is known for both singing and acting, but most people don't realize he's a musician first, because he's been, as a teen star, he was all over episodics, and then later on when he grew up, he was on ER for several seasons. Scott Grimes. Scott Grimes has recorded 2 albums that I'm aware of. This one from 1990, and Living on the Run, which came out in 2012, I believe. I'm not sure. It came out in the 2000s. It was while he was on ER. Scott was a great singer. This album was produced by Richard Carpenter, of the Carpenters fame. A lot of the songs were written there too. This hit at the back end of the teen backlash when radio was dropping New Kids on the Block, Debbie Gibson and Tiffany like they were like pariah or something. It's a really great album, and he is an incredible vocalist and remains so to this day. Yeah, the less said about this one, the better, because I know he's capable of better than this. I've seen him sing on television, and he's not half bad. But this album is awful. David Hasselhoff, Night Rocker. Couldn't wait to get it. I've listened to it maybe twice the entire time I've owned it. It is not the best in the world. He does have a duet on here with his then wife, Catherine Hickman, Let It Be Me. Which is that song. I also did another song with her called Our First Night Together. Yeah, this is not great. And he's capable of better. Doug showed this one. I had this too. I think he was a terrific vocalist. I don't care what anybody else says. Don Johnson, Heartbeat. This came out at the height of Miami Vice. This has his big hit Heartbeat on it. Gatefold, a lot of great musicians are on here, including Elton John and a bunch of other people. Dweezil Zappa, among others. Don didn't really get the credit he deserved. And yes, he did have a hit single with his then girlfriend Barbra Streisand, a song called Till I Loved You in '89, I believe it was. This guy's usually thought of as an actor, but he cut an album and released it in 1982, and this was actually really good. He was a singer from the time he was in high school, although most people know him as William, not Billy. On the album, he went by Billy, and he was still better known as the Greatest American Hero and Paul Drake Jr. Billy Cat, otherwise known as William Cat, Secret Smiles from 1982. This album is awesome. He is a really excellent songwriter and singer. I wish it had done better because it deserved better than it got. That's the first load. Let me shift here to another group. I got three groups here. Next up, purely for aesthetic purposes, and please know I bought this in this condition in an auction years ago. I knew the cover was water damaged, but the album was in great shape and still is. Leonard Nimoy, Mr. Spock's Music from Outer Space. People don't give credit enough to Leonard. He's not a bad vocalist. He's certainly better than William Shatner, who I do not own anything by, except of stuff off of the more recent album that he released, I don't know, 6 months ago when I got it through a sampler service. This is not the album with Ballad of Bilbo Baggins on it. That's the second album. That's what he's best known for because Dr. Demento used to play it all the time. But Leonard recorded this, and I actually like his version of Where Is Love from Oliver. And there's a lot of good stuff, and he does a lot of narration on this too, but it's a lot of fun. People don't realize he was a singer either and had a couple of big hit albums in the 1960s and 70s. Actor Michael Parks. This is Long Lonesome Highway. He was the star at the time of a show called Then Came Bronson. Of course, he later became known for other cult films in the 80s and 90s. Today's generation probably knows him as the crazy Reverend in Red State, which was based on Fred Phelps of that church in Kansas. I've forgotten the name of it right now. Michael's a good singer. He does country pop, and it's really good. I have two of his albums. This one I just picked them up recently. This is excellent. Michael Parks. Another one that's not an actor so much as he is a performer. Most people realize know him as a sidekick and as a television show host. But he did later release a few albums, both with Kathy Lee Gifford and later with his wife Joy. The late, great Regis Philbin. This is his album, It's Time for Regis, which was released during his run as Joey Bishop's sidekick on Bishop's ABC late night show that took on Johnny Carson for a while. It's actually pretty good for what it is. It's lounge music, and Regis is a more than competent singer, excuse me. How many of you remember this kid? Glenn Scarpelli. He was on One Day at a Time as Alex for a couple seasons, later jumped over to Jennifer Slept Here. More recently, he's produced and directed stuff. This is an EP. It's not a full album. It's the only thing he released. He was pretty competent. It wasn't half bad. And again, couple of the songs hit on the Kirkham Report back in 1984, I think it came out. Good stuff from Glenn. There's a back picture of him. Mentioned this gentleman also, Doug did, but this is the first album and the one that he had a big hit off of. John Schneider, It's Now or Never. Of course, he had a big hit with a remake of Elvis's song. He did actually have a very successful concurrent country music career, but It's Now or Never was the only song he really popped with on the pop chart. I have Quiet Man, the second album also. Really good stuff. And was a singer for actually quite a while and sang before he became famous on the Dukes of Hazzard. So did this gentleman, David Soul. Doug showed his first album. This is his second, playing to an audience of one, contains his #1 UK hit, Silver Lady. Soul, who passed away late in 2023, was an amazing performer, or early 24, I forget which way. He's just recently passed away. Great singer. Started as the Masked Singer, or something to that effect. The Covered Man, I think his name was, when he used to appear on the Merv Griffin Show on CBS late nights, and also on Shindig. He was a terrific singer, and people do not give him enough credit as well. Like his co-star, Don Johnson, Philip Michael Thomas also cut an album. I picked this up in the cutout bin. That shows I wasn't about to pay full price for it. There's the little cutout notch down there. Living the Book of My Life, 1987 or 88. Reggae-flavored soul, really good stuff. He's a great vocalist. Not my favorite, but definitely not bad. John Travolta, everybody knows John Travolta. He's one of the obvious ones, but he didn't really have a recording career past the 1970s. Had a big hit with Let Her In on this about a year and a half before Grease really made it obvious that he was quite a good singer. His second album, which is part of Travolta Fever, the other one I have, includes a cover of a song called Easy Evil, which is one of my favorite songs as done by the Captain. It's Neil. I believe Peter McCann was the writer of that. And as far as the actors go, I've got two more actors before we get into the ladies. People remember him mostly, although he had a couple of minor hits on the AC chart. People remember him for one song, and as Frisco Jones on General Hospital, Jack Wagner. Jack was also on Melrose Place, a number of other shows, primarily known as an actor. All I Need was a huge hit on the pop chart, hit #3. Lady of My Heart and a later song, Weatherman Says, from his third album, both did hit the Hot 100, did not do above number 60, I don't believe. He was a good vocalist, but most people know him as an actor. And finally, of course, Bruce Willis, The Return of Bruno. I love this album. People have really, slammed on this album, but it's pure pop fun. It's Bruce in the studio having fun recording music. Nobody asked for a great deal of stuff. I have the second album also on CD. I thought he was just fine. I love Respect Yourself, which was a top 10 hit with the staple singers in the background. All of this, of course, remakes of classic Motown and R&B stuff. So those are the actors. Now, let's get into the actresses. And one duo. Again, people don't realize she started as a singer, not an actress. She was a member of a band, a couple of bands, before launching her career as an actress, and that kind of overshadowed everything she did, except for the variety specials she used to host for CBS during her run on Wonder Woman. This is Linda Carter and her album Portrait from 1978. Exquisite album with full of great vocals. All Night Song, a disco, should have been a disco classic. It wasn't, it didn't hit the chart, but it was a great song. Covers of some really great stuff on here. She would not release another album until 2009. Album of standards called At Last, which is also phenomenally good. Best known as a voiceover artist, but also as an actress. She was on Fame. She was on couple of other shows. She was in Pee-wee's Big Adventure, and she was in Summer School, or at least she sang the theme from Summer School. E.G. Daily, best known as the voice of Tommy Pickles from Rugrats and Buttercup, I believe, from the Powerpuff Girls. This was the only hit album she had, Wild Child. It contained a top 60 hit called Say It, Say It. Also has a great version of Donna Summer's Sunset People on it. She was a marvelous, and is a marvelous vocalist. Never really clicked as a singer, unfortunately, because I really do think people associate her too much with her voiceover work, and it took away from what she did musically. Showed this lady's album a couple of times, not this one, but an earlier one. And I didn't know she sang until I saw her album in the bins one day. I had known her as an actress before that. Lisa Hartman. Lisa Hartman, of course, really launched her career in the 1980s, but she had starred in the 1977 sitcom called Tabitha. It was based on the character from Bewitched, as Tabitha, a grown-up woman now. And she has an album out, but this is actually her album from 1983, Let Her Rock, which features a hit single called If Love Must Go, which was a #1 hit on the Kirkham Report and also became a big hit overseas. Song that she's best known for performing as C.G. Dunn on the TV series Knots Landing. Of course, she's married to Clint Black. They've been a happy duo, and she's been recording with him off and on since they got married about 20 years ago. And of course, Cheryl Ladd. This is a promo copy. I'm very happy to own this again. I had it for years and I lost it. Cheryl Ladd was the voice of Melody, the singing voice of Melody in Josie and the Pussycats when she was Cheryl Stoppelmore before she became a household name on Charlie's Angels in 1977. And this album from 1978 contains her only top 40 hit, Think It Over, which was a big hit on the Kirkham Report chart. And this picture, I had a poster of this album cover. It was on my wall for a number of years. I was a teenager, so sue me. Also known better as an actress and comedian, people do know her one hit, though. She had a #1 smash in 1973, and this is the album that went with it. Vicki Lawrence, The Night the Lights Went Out in Georgia. Vicki also started as a singer in Glee Club and several Glee groups in high school and college before becoming a star on the Carol Burnett Show. The Night the Lights Went Out in Georgia, of course, her monster hit. He Did With Me, the other single on this, did hit the AC chart, and she's released a couple of other albums over the years, but they're very, very difficult to find and get a hold of, so I've downloaded them. I haven't really talked about them. Another one, better known as an actress, but really she's been singing her whole life, and her voice was gracing television themes and commercials well before she had her 1985 hit, Gloria Loring. She had a hit with Carl Anderson, Friends and Lovers, which hit #2 on the Billboard Hot 100. At the time, she was playing, I believe her character was named Liz Craig on Days of Our Lives. At the time, she was also... at this time this album came out, she was in the middle of a divorce from her actor husband, Alan Thicke, who is also a singer. This does contain Friends and Lovers. She's never charted since, which is a shame because she's done some really great stuff. And I love her voice, and this album is fantastic. Another actress who got known as a singer first, but was actually an actress playing a singer. Now you see her mostly when she's in movies and character roles. The most recent thing I can think of seeing her in was It's Complicated with Meryl Streep and Alec Baldwin and Steve Martin. I think that was 2009. Mary Kay Place. This is the album that came out when she was on Fernwood Tonight, live at the Capri Lounge, Loretta Hagers. That's the character she played. She played a country singer named Loretta Hagers. She's a great singer, and people don't give her enough credit for it. These albums were not taken seriously by the country music community, which is a shame, because it's not really terrible music. I have 2 of them. I think there's a third one. And picked this up from Adam at Record Crate a couple of years ago. Love Mary Kay Place and everything she does. And for those of you who want to do some hating, here's your hating chance. Because yes, I know she's easy to hate, and calling her an actress is marginal, but she has acted and she has won a Golden Globe. Pia Zadora. This is her album, I Am What I Am. Pia is a far superior singer than she is an actress. I love the woman's voice. I got 2 of her albums and several singles by her. She is phenomenally good as a vocalist, and I really think that she deserves more than she gets. This particular album was all standards, released, I believe, in 1986. It says here. I thought it was 88. Pia deserved better than she got as a singer. She did have a top 40 hit, the clapping song. I'm in Love Again also hit the 100, peaked at 70 something. Both of which are great songs, and she's a great singer and deserves more credit for vocals. But if I were her, I'd stay as far away from acting as possible. Finally, there was a duo, and these guys are both known separately. There was a television series that was on in the summer of 1977. It was a 4-week or 5-week summer sitcom produced by Norman Lear about a pair of brothers, and if you believe these 2 are brothers, more power to you, who made a deal with a manager who turned out to be the son of the devil, and they were always trying to get them to sign on the dotted line. They never did, because it would give them the title of the show, A Year at the Top. This is Greg Evigan and Paul Schaefer. Greg, obviously, the hunky one. Paul, the nerdy one. Paul, of course, best known for his work as David Letterman's band leader, but he acted quite a bit and does a killer Don Kirshner imitation when he was part of the Saturday Night Live band. Greg Evigan, of course, BJ and the Bear came after this, and My Two Dads and every show he's done afterward. Greg is a wonderful singer. Paul is better as an instrumental performer. He's an incredible keyboard player, and he's not terrible as a singer. I have his solo album from the late 80s, Coast to Coast, which is also really good. But his voice is an acquired taste. I happen to like it, but I really enjoy this album. I didn't get it for a year and a half after the show was on, but Greg is a wonderful singer, and there's a great song on here called We're Lovers After All that I have always loved and thought should have been a bigger hit. Greg and Paul, A Year at the Top. Now, there's plenty of more actors and singers and stuff out there that I could go into. I didn't pull Rodney Allen Rippey or Ricky Seagull because they got out of acting. I want to see more. If you got Doug pulled out Herschel Bernardi, who I didn't know had recorded albums. I knew he'd recorded for Broadway, but I didn't know he'd recorded an album, and a few other people. So I want to see more of these. I hope other people are hopping on this, and if I'm wrong about Doug starting this, I'm going to have to go find it, so please let me know. In any case, those are just some actors who have released albums over the years, and I'll be back with more soon enough. I'm TC Kirkham, the Kirkham Report, and that's one of this week's Vinyl Community Threads. Ciao, baby.